Hello, loves. I am coming to share some messages that were coming through in light of this major transformation and conscious shifting that is occurring, and of course the intensities that come along with that. And so there is a reminder to continue to hold the vision, to dream the reality, the world the way that you wish to create it, to build it, for it to be. And the second thing is to embody light, love, peace, and to anchor in your home frequencies and to broadcast that as a wave versus some of the separation and distortion that is occurring that is keeping us in a different state of consciousness, essentially. And so I think it's important to share, and I know this is something that you value, but kind of, in the world, right? That all of us, all of us, all of us, all of us are equally loved by source creator, by God, right? And so I remember this plant medicine journey that I had, and I asked this question, how to see God, and the answer was to not look the other way, that it was all around you, right? So in other humans, in the earth, in the animals, in the love that we share, but also in all of the creations, right? So it's kind of a reminder to our fellow humans. And as we are working on our inner worlds and projecting that into the outer reality, and of course, there's a lot mixed in there. But as we go on this journey together, we know that, Earth was off balance and still is, right? And so we're working on harmonizing that. And that, of course, is an inner journey. And so, with this plant medicine ceremony and how to see God, there's just a reminder that we're all God's children and precious cargo. Nobody's better or worse, right, than the other, that we all come from the same divine spark. And I remember when that came up, that was actually a different one. And um, this came through from my elders that I work with, my galactic elders. And they had asked me to visualize the most vile person that I can think of. And I didn't know where this was going at first. So I did the visualization, and then they said to send them love, um, because they needed this love the most. And I remember I purged because the extension of that message was that they can't come from the same spark of the creator, the same divine spark. And that was a lot for me at the time. This was actually years ago, but a lot for me to remember because, there's a lot packed in with that, with judgments, a lot of massive mind resolution, I call it, to try to strip down the layers and remember, why we are all here, and sort of needing to step back and have this awareness so things can actually transform and shift. Because otherwise, we are in that perpetual loop where we're creating the same realities. And so, actually, I have this little note right here. Um, and that I wanted to kind of share just for a moment because I think there's value in it. And it just talks about the old loop. And so, what is the old cycle of reaction and fear. A world event happens, we are emotionally triggered or activated. The news media then amplifies it. And so there's repetition there, there's polarization there, there's sensationalism there. And then collectively and individually for our nervous systems, they are overloaded. There is a feeling of feeling powerless, divided, dysregulated. And that energy is unconsciously broadcasting these low vibrations and rippling them through the field. And this is not to say that there should be any shame around having feelings or emotions, right? To to pain and to suffering. But it is saying that that is part of our healing process to work on calming and repairing the central nervous system so that it doesn't have the same reaction. And again, that requires consciousness expansion to be able to take that step back and to understand from these macro levels. So what occurs in that old loop is that we keep creating the similar future realities. And so this new way that's being proposed, and again, there's going to be a lot more to it than what I'm sharing. I'm just kind of highlights here. That a world event happens, that we're able to pause, breathe, and observe. We're able to check in with ourselves. What is this showing me? What am I feeling? We have the emotional awareness to feel it without attaching to a specific narrative, because that's, all perspective and what is sort of being, what is being shown in media often. So just checking in with self without that narrative. And that way, there's not a projection. We're able to feel and to experience without necessarily projecting. And so, discernment of information, then, what is the truth? What is being distorted? What energy does this carry? How am I feeling when I receive this? What is the frequency? What is the energy? And then can I choose from that process a higher response? Can I have compassion for anyone that's feeling, pain, suffering, that needs a hug, that needs some love? Can I prayer or say some good intentioned words, meditate, um, send send energy? Can I sit in stillness and commune with nature and uh, turn within for the moment? Is there any inspired action from this place of stillness that is coming intuitively to me? How can I bring this information now through the body in a healthy way and create coherence? And then that will consciously seed the field with more light and clarity in solutions. Okay, what is it that we can do, right? And that's where we can work together in a very powerful place. So there's a lot of wisdom in that. And then we break free from that old loop. So I know a lot of you guys know that, but just feeling called to share right now because we are in desperate need of healing. And we've been a spiritually thirsty nation for a long time now. And so, I remember being shown that years ago too, like just kind of how this would play out. And of course, that doesn't make you immune to going through the process and feeling the energies and everything that goes along with that. But this is going to lead us to that Christ consciousness that we talk about. Now, I personally am not religious at all, but I do believe that there is this frequency and this template that is accessible to everyone. If we can do that inner alchemy to find that, so that when we do connect with each other, it's not coming from a place of defense. We're able to hear at least what another person's truth is. And our ego is dropped too because we don't know all of the information, right? There are multiple perspectives, but we don't know um, everything there is to know, essentially, right? So it kind of just like, it doesn't mean that you align, doesn't mean that you agree, but you just open the door for that greater dialogue. And so, it's been in the post. Many people are talking about it. There's a lot of inner child wounding going on. And you guys know that because you've done the work yourself. And of course, not everybody has. And so that's why we are here to support and to be somebody that can anchor love and hold the light and simply remind humanity that they haven't fallen as deeply, at least on individual levels, right? If you can help plant the seed that no, there's still hope. This isn't our future. Things aren't getting worse. We're actually we're building, right? I know that's a different kind of conversation, maybe to have, but just internally, you can plant the seeds of consciousness. You can do light code activations that disseminates this information without even talking, simply by frequency and being present. So presence is just really important, and whatever process that we need to go through, and that will break us out of the loop. Um, and while all of that's going on, of course, um, the challenge is because on one end, all is well, and so it is. All is perfect and as it should be, right? If you are present and you are embodying or embracing the I am. But the challenge is when, okay, I say these things, right? I have read them, I intend to be them, but my body doesn't feel that way, or I mentally, like, maybe I don't agree with that right now. And so that's okay, and always use your discernment and trust your intuition above all else. However, that's where our work is for all of us. So we can clear the judgments. We can remember there's an illusion and something that wants to keep us in a cycle, right? And then we can step out of that. And so I will say that the mother, the sacred mother, the beautiful and loving, divine feminine energy that was lost in many, many ways, or just even feeling that as Gaia, that is returning just in such beautiful ways. And I will say that there is about to be a bit of a release, though, a volcanic eruption, if you will, because there's energy and information that just wants to come to the surface. So our pain, trauma, wounding, the fighting, the separation, all of that to just come forward and be released. And she is calling for our harmony and balance. And so to help and support and to shine the light, just, we're all working on it. So um, everybody, of course, is doing amazing. We're watching these patterns play out. But what a really important message is to add to all of this is that there are new light codes that are landing on Earth that couldn't have landed before because we weren't in a frequency to be able to hold and anchor them. So as you know, when these cosmic rays come, they can create chaos if they're not received by a receptacle. So there are many of you that are scattered all over the globe that are helping to do that. And so it's not a bad thing if it creates the chaos. It's all part, right, of that bigger plan and vision. But these new light codes are really heading toward a huge turning point, a huge vibrational shift. And I'm going to cut this off and talk about that because there's a lot more information that's surrounding the energetic update that I want to put in the next video. So the last thing I'll say is that you hold a frequency key. You are certainly meant to be here. You are loved. You are supported, and you are here for purpose. And so we get to remember our divinity, our connection, and our true nature as spiritual beings in a human body. All right. Much love.